All right, let's get back to work. Had conversations with Dad, but also with Muhammad today. Muhammad of Mecca, Muhammad the Messiah. And when we were talking about stuff, and I was explaining to him because I told him when a lot of the things that I say, they sound very intelligent and beautiful because I'm communicating with intelligent and beautiful people that are before me very faithful and maintain the eternal light on the perfection of humble faith. And he said, after he got done, he goes, Earl, you got to understand. Okay, but it was Muhammad explained to me, because you're not required to alter your personality to accommodate other people that are being selfish. Okay, now selfish people when they're living faithfully and they're free from other people's selfish abuse, are not required to accommodate other people or alter their personality or behaviors to accommodate other people. When you're living the Lord's Prayer and your personalities clash, you don't have to be around that person, even if they're your uncle or your brother or your sister, right? Now, when you marry, you're trying to find somebody that you have things in common, so your personalities don't clash. So you're good together, and that good together radically affects your children, you know. So you don't have to come in 3 days and go, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you. So marriage is a very selfless endeavor. It's love to have continue life through children. That's why people sing so many songs about it. Johnny Mathis, all the songs, and those songs express a desire. Without a woman to love, man ceases to exist. And women, if they are fucked by a barbarian, don't get to experience love. And when women have brain damage through fucking barbarians over thousands of years, okay, then love is murdered and sacrificed to the devil. Okay. Now, Muhammad, there's a surah. Okay. Let me go grab my copy of the Quran. Hold on a minute, guys, here. In the Holy Quran, second, top shelf. Here it is. I'm going to look at, this is my favorite. I have 2 copies of the Quran. One was given to me by a man named Leo. One was given, Amy had talked to people that called themselves Muslims online and told her to buy this one. This was the first copy I had. Told her to buy this one. Okay. And it's translated by an Englishman with the help of Arabic people. Then Leo gave me this one. And this is translated by an Arabic person. And they're radically different. This one is very curt and more angry. This one is a lot more poetic and beautiful. And there it is, Sura. Yeah, one of these is the Sura of the Greeks. I remember perusing that and looking at that. The first surahs I started reading, when I started reading, Al got he saw me out in the parking lot. I was having to watch Christmas trees, make sure nobody stole them all night in a parking lot in Sierra Vista with the laptop to watch movies to keep me from falling asleep. And the cow, yeah. And I started reading, okay, and I was devouring it. And Alan said that happened to Joe when he'd read the Bible, but I wasn't doing that. Okay. I already knew the surahs. Okay. I had already had conversations with Muhammad discussing the surahs of the Quran before I read them. And a lot of people will sit there and say, oh, it's just the military, because you're susceptible and egotistical, using your arrogance to already feed it to you while you're sleeping, like they do subliminally with it. It's like, why don't they do it with you? Because we're not susceptible and we believe in the Bible. And the Quran is like, oh, son of a bucket. Okay, so you get people like that, and it's like, okay, if I'm susceptible to brainwashing, as you would refer it, to government agencies to get me to be egotistical, to believe that I'm someone I'm not, why don't they do it with you? Because you're not susceptible and Jesus is your God, and your God keeps you safe from their technology, their legal contracts, and their elections. I watched the last election on TV. I watched the 2 contestants, okay, and both of them said Okay, one said she would get as much weapons to Zelensky as possible to start murdering civilians in Russia to bring this conflict to an end. Okay. And Trump said he will go with Putin and side with him and negotiate terms of an agreement that was acceptable to the Russians and had to be made acceptable to the Ukrainians. Okay, so Trump sounds more like a Democrat. Okay, let's make him accept the status quo, the New Deal, the big dams, and the nuclear power plants, and then we'll find ways to make the health care very acceptable to where they die comfortable with their drugs. And she sounds like the Republican. I will give the Vietnamese and the South Koreans all the weapons I can to kill all those fucking commies. Okay, she sounded like that. And you guys are both voting in a contest over their money and their technology to keep you safe from what? Jesus and the Lord's Prayer? Okay, so why would you think when I talk that I'm susceptible to scientists and the government to being an egomaniac through their persuasion or manipulation while I sleep? Why would that ever cross your ever fucking voting for money fucked up little bastard mind? Do you understand? Okay, I was talking to Muhammad today. Okay, so you got to understand this. Okay, and the Sura of the Greeks, I read portions of it, but he said, don't, you tell them about it. Don't read it. They wrote it down. You tell them about it. He said, the Sura of the Greeks is essentially about this, okay? That the Greeks invented, didn't create, God is creation, perceived a creation through their imagination, which is just a form of invention. It's the process to invention. You're inventing a story. You're making stuff up because you don't understand it. You're unfaithful and selfish and have to tell yourself lies to survive your selfish behaviors. And they created Olympus on the mountain where Zeus lives and all that bullshit, right? When they realized and sent people up, there's nobody up on the top of that mountain. It's just cold and people die getting to the top. And then it's hard to get back down. That's all that's up on the mountain. Okay? When the rain comes from there, it's because of the rocks in the mountain and the snow that accumulates there and it evaporates and then causes more. So that's all just nature. Okay? So he said, what happened with the Greeks is they invented religion that was bullshit, and then they tried to replace their bullshit with their ego and call it philos, philosophy. Sheldon talks about it all the time on the Big Bang Theory. Physica, right? Do you understand? Okay, so when religion was understood, okay, observed and understood and communicated through faithful people throughout time, it gets corrupted by the selfish who try to contain the glory of the soul in the passions and delusions of minds. It sounds a lot like Shuddha Krishnamurti and the traditions of Hindu and Buddhist philosophies, right? Okay. So I was talking to Muhammad today. And DT Suzuki loves Muhammad. Okay. One of his favorite people to connect to in meditation. But the thing about it is he has the way that DT Suzuki connects to Muhammad in meditation, okay, is not through Muhammad of Mecca, because Muhammad of Mecca isn't through that line. There was not access available. So you have to go from portals of entry. Okay. So the way he communicates with Muhammad of Mecca is through me and through a man named Isaac Paul Banegas. Okay. Do you understand? All right. And so our understanding of Abraham and Muhammad, okay. But Isaac ignores that stuff a lot, and stuff like that. If he hasn't perused it, he's communicated it in prayer. And secondly, he wouldn't tell anybody because he doesn't want to compromise his social positions and the comfort of his wife and his child. Okay? Because people abuse him financially if he addresses me as the Messiah and says, here's how the Messiah works. And he understands because Muhammad's a Messiah and Abraham was a Messiah. Okay. And so, yes, it's possible. Lot and Abram. Okay. It is possible. John and Jesus. Okay. You had two men performing the activities of the Messiah at the same time. But one was of North African descent and black like the Egyptians, and one looked like a Roman. Okay. So the Romans would not accept John as a Messiah, but they would accept Jesus even after that. But that happened not until after the crucifixion, when he was turned into a mythological Greek god as opposed to respected as the living word and the Messiah. Is that understood? I talked to Muhammad today. It's a good day. Okay, do you understand? And you got to understand, things I got earlier, I was communicating to the line of Miss Lopez and about, these churches and these business affiliations in El Paso. And it's like the Catholic Church puts people into positions of people acting like Jesus. They put them into vulnerable economic positions, and then the kids get abused by the pervert priest, and the priests feel important and act like they're godly and like Moses and David and Joseph and the apostles and the messiahs, and they do nothing like us. Pope Francis and Benedict are nothing like me. Gordon B. Hinckley's nothing like me. He won't stand up to save his children from perverts in the military because he'll lose his business and his influence and his manipulation. And these people come around him all the time and tell him, you're a holy man. You're a spiritual vehicle like Eckhart Tolle. And that's complete bullshit. You enlighten yourself. You use common sense to understand the faith, so you don't sit there and watch these women do professional wrestling, put themselves in sexually explicit positions while they're beating the hell out of each other for other people's entertainment. That's gross to do to women. And women that engage in it are only doing it because they're addicted to their sexual prowess for fighting over money. And that's gross. And there's nothing attractive about any of those flying, psychotic AEW dynamite bastards on TV and their bitch women. And if they don't like that, you know exactly where the fuck I live. You come knock on my door and you have a conversation with me and see if I can't convince you to act like Ruth and Esther and Solomon and David. I don't have to. I just did it right here on YouTube. Then you have to leave the comfort of my sofa. All you Corona drinking dumbass motherfuckers, go have that Modelo fighting spirit, but do it away from here. And when we're living the Lord's Prayer, you can just go beat each other with baseball bats and tire irons in the desert for all we care. And when your suffering ends, we won't have to feel your bastard ways anymore. Bitches. I talked to Muhammad today. If you want to be addressed with good manners, you'll show up with good manners. If you don't have good manners, expect me to break out the whip and clean out the temple. I'm Isaac Banegas' Uncle Earl. Okay, guys? I love you, all right? Peace.